Hello all, myself Janil Popat. Let us begin new chapter soil classification. In this chapter, we are going to classify the soil. I mean different types of soils with proper classification. Different classes of soils will be classified in this chapter. Let us begin this. Purposes of classification. So what are the purposes? Why we are classifying the soil? What is the need for classifying the soil? Without classifying, cannot we work? We can, but the classification is necessary due to these reasons. Let us understand them. First, to arrange various types of soil into groups according to their engineering properties. So basically we are grouping different types of soils into one group so that similar engineering properties can be identified by the groups only. This is the first necessity. Second one, to decide suitability of soil as a construction material. So, to decide suitability, if the soil is suiting your building or not, to decide that we have to classify the soil. And for using soil as a construction material, for earthwork, for an example, if it is a excavated hole, in that if we want to add some soil or we want to do earthwork somewhere, we need to classify the soil and then we can use there. Any soil will not work at any places. And the third point suggests to decide the suitability of soil for the foundation of structures. It is very important. Foundation of structures are a very crucial part of the building, because if the foundation are weak, then the building cannot survive. So for foundation of structures, suitability of foundation of structures, we need to classify the soil. Moving forward, to provide a common understanding among different geotechnical engineers of different areas. So, for an example, let me say that I am a geotechnical engineer from Ahmedabad. If someone coming from a different city like Calcutta or let us say New York or Mumbai, they must be knowing the basics, but they are telling that the soil is red and I am telling the soil is maroon. So both are viewing the same soil, but the perception of both of us are different. To change that and to remove the clashes, to prevent the clashes, to provide a common understanding between among all geotechnical engineers, you have to classify the soil. So these are basic purposes of soil classification. After that, we need to learn field identification tests. So when you go on the field, you do not have machines with you. So you have to identify the soil with your eyes and with your senses only. For that, you need to use these knowledge. For primary identification, after spreading the sample, you have to spread the sample somewhere and you have to observe it with the naked eyes. If lesser than 50% of soil is visible, then it is a fine grained soil, and if more than 50% of soil is visible, then it is a coarse grained soil. So you should be able to decide on field if it is FGS or CGS by spreading the sample and viewing it by the naked eyes. After that, secondary identification starts. This was primary identification. Primarily, you have to know that if it is a CGS or if it is a FGS. After that, you will do secondary identification. For secondary identification, if it is CGS, if it is coarse grained soil, then you are going to do this process. First, you have to identify it. If it is greater than 4.75 mm diameter, then it will be a gravel. Now, more than 50% of soil of CGS is greater than 4.75 mm dia, then it will be a clearly gravel soil. Now, if it is in the range of 4.75 to 0.075 mm, then it will be a sand. And if it is a mixture of sand and silt, then you have to do dispersion test. Here you can see dispersion test. For dispersion test, after dispersion, particles settle in water. You have to take a glass of water and a transparent glass of water or glass water. In that, you have to add some soil. After adding that, if that soil settles down in 1 minute or so, then it will be a sand. If it do not settle in 1 or 2 minutes, if it takes time more than 15 minutes, it will be a silt. So you can identify on the field if it is gravel, sand, silt or sand. Right? So that is how you can differentiate all these types. Moving to next secondary classification, that is FGS. For FGS. So when it is a fine grained soil, it will be a finer than coarse, right? So for that, 4 tests are done. Basically, first test, that is dilatancy test. In that, small pat is prepared. Small pat means a small amount of soil should be taken in the hand. Now, after that, apply shaking and squeezing motion in the palm. Then, after that, you have to shake and squeeze your hand in the horizontal manner so that the soil get mixed. Now, after that, the moisture of the soil will appear on your hand. After opening the hand, you will see the moisture of the soil coming outside or coming out of that soil. If the water appears and again disappears, then if it is happening quickly, it will be a quick reaction. It will be a quick reaction. And if it happens slowly, for an example, if you open your palm and if you see that the soil and water comes out and after 1 or 2 minutes it goes and disappears, then it will be a slow process and it is known as slow reaction. From quick reaction and slow reaction, you can tell the type of classify the soil. Second test, that is toughness test. Due to this, you can measure toughness of the soil. For toughness, threads from cohesive soil about 3 mm dia should be prepared. If you remember from plastic limit test, we have made a round thread of 3 mm dia, right? Same type of thread should be made. After that, if it can be prepared, then it must be a clay. And if it cannot be prepared, it will be a silt. So that is how you can decide if it is a clay or silt. So we have learned 2 tests, dilatancy test and toughness test. Let us move to the next test, that is dry strength test. For dry strength test, you have to again prepare a pat. Pat means nothing but amount of soil should be taken in your palm. Now, after dry pat, preparing a pat which is dry, before this dilatancy test requires a wet pat, right? So in that you add some water, but in this you did not have to add any water. So I have taken some soil in my hand, in my palm. Now I will provide a dry pad with my fingers and palm like this, like this. After that, slight dry strength. If it is having some strength, if you feel that it is having some slight strength, then it will be powdered. It will be powdered with the finger only. When you provide a pad with the fingers only, it will get powdered. Then it will be having a slight dry strength. If it cannot be powdered with fingers, then it will be having a medium dry strength. Still, if it is not powdered by fingers, and if it is broken by pressure with the palm, if you provide pressure with the palm and then it is broken, then it will be having a high dry strength. And if it is not getting broken with the pressure by the palm also, then it should be having very high dry strength. So this is how you can analyze strength of the soil on the feel only, without any technical measures, by your senses only. Fourth are the miscellaneous, we can say, other tests. First test, these tests, other tests are based on feeling, or the feeling or gesture or texture of the soil. Let us see, fine sand will be having texture like gritty feeling. It will give some gritty feel, right? If it is like some grains in my hand, it will be having a gritty feeling. Silt, it will have a rough feeling. It will have some rough feeling. Clay will have a smooth feeling. If you touch a talcum powder in your home, if you touch a talcum powder, it will give a smooth feeling, right? So clay will give a smooth feel like that. So field identification tests are performed like this. Believe me, these tests are very essential for engineers, because these tests are performed by very, we can say, laymen. The unstudied people or unlearned people, they also know these techniques, and after them, sometimes it happens that the contractors will feel the soil and tell the properties of that soil, but engineers will fail to do that. So you need to understand this, and you need to remember field identification tests, as they are very much important and useful in the field. So let me complete this lecture here. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.